Hello, and welcome back to Too Many Open Tabs, where we talk about music, movie, TV show, and documentary reviews. Today, we have a true crime segment that I have been waiting to bring to you guys. I had to do a little bit more research before we could talk about it, but now I think I finally have enough notes and we're ready to get into it. We're going to talk about the story of Lucy Letby, who was a neonatal nurse accused of unaliving several newborn defenseless infants. But before we do that, I need you to make sure you drop a like, subscribe, leave me a comment. If you have suggestions of shows or movies or songs you want to get into, go ahead and drop it in the comments. And if you have the ability to hype up this video, please do so. Lucy Letby was accused of harming or unaliving over 25 babies. The numbers keep changing because they were still doing the investigation at the making of the documentary. And before we even talk about the horrible, gruesome things that she did, I want to talk about the dangers of making a documentary after these crimes occurred, because it can really change the minds of people who weren't there or didn't live through that time. Like, that's why it's a saying when people say, oh, you had to be there to truly understand and grasp what was happening. Similar to when they keep remaking the Menendez brothers and they make series and documentaries about that, and then we see it with our today's eyes and say, oh, if this is what happened to them, then maybe they shouldn't be in jail. But when you watch the period pieces and the news articles that were made then when it happened, evidence will show they are right where they need to be. And I saw a lot of that in the making of this documentary, because at the beginning of it, we're bringing up all these facts again and everybody has an opinion. So they had a bunch of TikToks like, oh, Lucy should be let out. I think she's innocent. She didn't do it. In reality, we weren't there. And she's in there for a reason, a very serious reason. So I just wanted to say that we do have to be careful when we're retelling stories and we don't have all of the evidence, or we didn't live through the time to know the true implications of what these people did. This is the very first documentary I have seen where they have AI confessionals. You know how back in the day when somebody didn't want their identity shown, so they would make them a shadow and they would give you the deep voice and they'd be like, I saw her getting out of the car at 2 a.m. Now, they just make you a whole ass cartoon. They give you a digitized cartoon face, change your voice, and you just saying everything you wanted to say, but it's a completely randomized person. I think that is insane. I just wanted to throw that out there. But to start at the beginning, Lucy Letby was a very, very young nurse. She was in nursing school. She had a really close friend in nursing school. They did their internship, so to speak, at a hospital. And her friend was saying, like, a lot of the nurses that worked at the hospital, they were very mean girlish. You can't sit with us. So once they graduated, they had the opportunity to go and apply at other hospitals, but no. Lucy said, I'm staying right here. And her friend was like, why would you stay if they don't like you, girl? But she was like, no, I'm staying. So what she did was she stayed and she applied to go to the neonatal nurses unit. And that's a unit for newborns, but also newborns that might not weigh enough, or they might just not be healthy enough to go home when the mother is discharged. So she worked with very high risk babies. The first baby to pass away under her care was named Baby Zoe. And they interviewed Baby Zoe's mother. She was one of the AI interviews. And she just said how competent, how knowledgeable, how informed Lucy seemed. Like, she really just looked like a real regular, just, I'm here to do my job and I do my job well type of nurse. Even the doctors that she worked under, they were like, we've never noticed her. Like, she's just not someone that stands out. We don't pay attention to her. Like, she went under the radar a lot of times. And for somebody who's trying to do things that she's accused of doing, that's a good thing for her. So, yeah, her reputation is being good at her job, knowing what she's doing. She ended up being one of the most experienced nurses on this unit. So how did we get to this point? Well, babies started dying. Babies started dying at a very high rate. From June 2015 to July 2016, they had a lot of infant deaths at this hospital. And the terrifying part is that's the time period at which I had my child. So it really is just, you never know the people you're around, and you just hope that everyone has the best intention. They did their best to say, "Oh, this could be natural causes. There's a logical explanation for why it happened." But it got to the point where they couldn't ignore it. It was just so many babies, and of course, this was a high risk unit. But when the babies who came in generally healthy, they were the right weight, they were eating like they were supposed to, they would have left on time when it was time for them to be discharged, and they just suddenly collapsed. The hospital was like, "We got to look into it." So they started pulling charts and seeing who was there, who was around, what were all the nurses and doctors on the unit. What about the baby's family members, aside from the mothers and fathers, who was there? So they made this chart, and when they plotted who was there for each and every one of the deaths or the collapsing or near deaths of the babies, the only person that was there each and every single time was Lucy Letby. Again, her doctors, her unit was trying to stick up for her. They said this is a coincidence. She's the most experienced. It was, a lot of it was happening on night shift. Every time she was on night shift, something would happen. So they said, let's move her to day shift. Do you know, babies stopped passing away during nighttime, and they started passing away during the day. For me, that's all the evidence I need. Lock her up yesterday. Like, that's all I would have needed to hear. But no, they let it go on until the death toll got to about 13. And then they decided to let her go. The day that she was let go from that hospital, no more infant deaths were reported. Another thing that spoke to me about her mental state during all of this, because they had the body cam footage every time they would come to arrest her, because the first time they just wanted to question her, and then the second time they had a little bit more proof, so they interviewed her, interrogated her again, and then the third time they were like, "Oh, you're being charged with this many counts of murder." She was never surprised. She was never taken aback. She ain't never even, her eyes didn't even get wide every time they came to arrest her. And the officers were so nice. Like, okay, think about this from United States point of view. This woman was accused of unaliving defenseless infants. They came to her house like, "Oh, we have to take you in now. Would you like to change clothes? Do you need help finding your shoes? Are the cuffs too tight? I can adjust them. You're just not able to get out of them. Would you like to say goodbye to your cat? Do you want to give your mom a hug?" Now, from America's eyes, that looks insane. That looks ridiculous to me. Because over here, they choke slamming and dragging. Okay, so when it came time for interrogation, they're doing the good cop, bad cop thing. They're asking her questions. When they ask her any type of question, when it comes down to hospital procedure, what do you do when? How do you do this? She is, by the book, extreme detail. This is the procedure. First you, and then finally. But every time they asked her a question about a child dying or a baby collapsing, she suddenly just lost her memory. I don't know. I don't know. No comment. I don't know. And it's like, how do you go from breaking down procedures to me to not knowing anything? Second thing that was suspicious about her is she kept detailed records specifically of the children who either got hurt or passed away under her care. These files were not supposed to leave the hospital. She had them organized chronologically. That means by date, in order, 250 files of children's personal information. And when they asked her why she had it, she was like, "Oh, I must have just left it in my pocket, brought it home. I didn't know what to do with it. I just threw it somewhere. It could have been on the coffee table. Could have been under the litter box." Whole time she had them in a box, in date order, stacked, highlighted, with notes on them. But people are still not sure if she did it. Okay. And we all know, if you follow true crime, like I follow true crime, a lot of these serial unalivers, they love to keep mementos. They like to have a trophy, something to show for what they did. Because somewhere deep in there, I think they want to get caught. And on some of these files that she wasn't supposed to have, she was writing notes. She was writing notes and highlighting, like some people highlight in their Bible. She was writing notes like, I did this. I killed them. I'm evil. I'm a bad person. I'm guilty. So when they asked her, what do you mean by that? What did you mean by that? She was like, oh, I don't know. No comment. So her friend from college, I think this friend really had a crush on her. The way the friend speaks about her, the way the friend is like, oh, we were always together and I just know that she's innocent. I don't care what kind of evidence they had. I know my friend didn't do this. Go, best friend, go, best friend, go. You never really know what somebody is capable of. You never really know what somebody's at their house doing. That's your best friend, true enough. But she could be at her house in a chicken costume trying to teach dolphins how to sing the national anthem. You just never really know what people have going on. So they had several different experts arguing her innocence and her guilt throughout the course of this trial that she sat through. During the trial, they had the mother of the first baby victim 3 feet away from her. I think somebody really should have worked on that seating chart in the organization of the trial, because making her relive that and being that close to her, based on the medical examiner's records, some of the ways that she was accused of unaliving these babies included physical trauma to the throat or stomach, removing breathing tubes so that their oxygen levels would drop, overfeeding them with the little syringes. So these are premature babies who aren't capable of breastfeeding or bottle feeding, so they have to be fed with the small syringes. And she would overfeed them intentionally so that their stomachs increased in size and it crushed their lungs and chests, and giving certain babies insulin instead of medication. Because if you give anybody an adult insulin when they're not diabetic, it can have immediate effects. And they said one of the reasons why it was so hard for them to catch her or even track how these babies were getting injured is because she did something different each time. So the defense attorney was arguing that all of these are possible ways that these babies passed away naturally. And he was saying that because Lucy was the most experienced nurse in this unit, that's why the unit kept getting severely high-risk babies. So once she no longer worked there, they stopped getting the high-risk babies, and that's why no other babies passed away after she left. When they looked at her browser history, she had been searching the victims' families on several social media sites, and she returned to their pages over and over the course of time to watch them grieve. Yet when they asked her about the incidents, she claims to have no memory of how the families reacted, even though they pulled up text messages where she was telling her co-workers, other nurses, how the families reacted when they found out that the babies passed away. From the time that she was arrested in 2023 to the time that she was sentenced in 2025, they found at least 9 more babies that could have been injured under her care, but they decided not to charge her with any more infant harm. And in 2025, she was sentenced to 15 consecutive life sentences. And she is only 36 years old right now. So I'm not sure if it's just the vast difference in the legal system between the US and the UK of why she was treated, how she was treated, especially being accused of the things that she was accused of. Yeah, I really have no idea why they were treating her like she was charged with aggressive jaywalking and not unaliving several defenseless babies. But if you have any more TV series or documentary suggestions, go ahead and drop them below. And thank you for joining me on Too Many Open Tabs.
I wake up, I cook up, I cook up, I cook up. I think they watching me. Ooh, if they watching me, I know they wanna stay.